I'm going through my Johnny's seed order. So the backstory on my Johnny seed order, I have two catalogs. I'm so lucky. His and hers. They sent one to me and one to Ian. So okay, so I'm gonna go through in this video because I ordered a crazy amount of seeds. It's a mountain. I don't even know where to start for going through everything that I've bought this year. So what I'm gonna start with is the video this week, and I'm gonna go through the vegetables that I've ordered because I haven't really ordered very many vegetables. And I'm also, before I get to that, I'm gonna go through what my plan is for the farm for next year. Yeah, because so I spent almost $3,000 on my Johnny seed order this year, just to give you a scale of how much I have. So I think like what I'm gonna do, this is gonna be like a series of videos. So I'm gonna do the vegetables, and I'm gonna like set up explaining like what I'm doing and why I spent so much money. And then I have, because the majority of what I ordered is flowers, crazy amount of flowers. Here, let's get some pretty pictures. The back half of Johnny's catalog is just filled with cut flowers because they have so many great cut flower options. And I bought almost all of them, kind of joking. Yeah, so I probably in the next couple of weeks I'll do one on all the fillers that I bought, all the greeneries that I bought, and then I'll do one on flowers that I've grown before that I ordered again, and then I'll probably do one on like the new flowers, the new experiments that I have for this year, just because there's so much so much to go through. But yeah, so I guess before we get going, so the majority of what I bought is for this growing season is from Johnny's seeds. Last year I bought from a few more sources. This year I bought almost everything from Johnny's. And the reason why I did that is it's really easy to shop at Johnny's because they clearly say like what they have and what they don't have. They're really good about keeping their online shop to have a good clear inventory for ordering. They have it's a really great curated collection of seeds. They don't have a million options, but they have every single option that I want. And then I also really trust them as a company. They're always doing tons and tons of research. They always have really great insight. They're good for home gardeners, right? They sell the small little packs for home gardeners, but they also sell the nice big farm packs. You can buy your seed by the pound, and the stuff that they're growing is stuff that is recommended to farmers, right? So my opinion is if Johnny's doesn't sell something anymore, maybe I don't need it because they're constantly updating things in their catalog. They're constantly replacing things with new stuff. There are a few times when you can clearly see that they've replaced something because something is sold out and they can't get the seed. For example, when I was ordering the Bennery's Giant, the Bennery's Giant zinnias were like really sold out everywhere. No one could find the Bennery's Giant stuff, and Johnny's was recommending their giant flowering dahlia zinnias as a substitute for the Bennery's Giant. In my opinion, like that isn't a substitute. That's not better. But if you can get it, you can get it. And that is like a seed that I bought. It's cheaper. But yeah, often they are phasing out older varieties to bring in newer varieties. And I'm always really happy with everything I get. They have great high quality seed. And so I am in Canada. Johnny Seeds is down in the States. But I also like to recommend Johnny Seeds because of the fact that they have really good international shipping. If you like go on and like look for the details about their international shipping, they literally list off the countries that they can't ship to, some things that can't get shipped out of the States. But they, even if you're not in Canada or in the States, they do have options for buying from them. And for me in Canada, because the price is a little bit more, the price is different for me because it's in American dollars. So, but when I do the conversion, their price is usually pretty comparable to Canadian sources. The only extra expense is that the shipping rate is a little bit higher because I have to pay for international shipping instead of domestic shipping. But I think if you order $200 or more, it's free shipping if you're in the States. But I don't know. Anyway, so that's why Johnny Seeds. I really love them. And I say this all the time when I'm talking about, resources for learning how to grow your seeds and everything. Johnny's is like my go-to resource. I go onto their, I don't Google things to like find out basic information. I go onto their website and, I'm like, oh, I want to know more about Benner's Giant Zinnias. I go there, it lists off a really great list of information. And then they also have lots of files about like more in-depth grower information. They have like all these trials for like cut flower farmers specifically. They have a bunch of stuff about overwintering and their zone 5. So they're, the same zone as me. So, like just a great asset, even if you're not buying seeds from them, just for education. Okay, so I bought 1 million seeds and I laugh because so Ian, I'm always like, how much money can I spend? And Ian is like, every wife's dream. Ian's like, spend whatever you want. I'm like, no, you have to like give me a budget because like I need constraints. I need to know how much money I'm allowed to spend. And he's like, you can spend as much money as you want. I was like, no, give me a number. He's like, fine, $10,000. You can only spend $10,000 on seeds this year. And I'm like, oh no, but if I bought $4,000 in tulips and I bought $3,000 in perennials, that means I only have $3,000. So I spent all of my money that I have, the arbitrarily allotted to me, pretty much on flowers this year. But part of the reason why the money that I spent is so massive, first of all, I have a farm. So that's a crazy amount of money to spend on a home garden. But I'm gonna more than make back that money with the sales. And then a lot of the stuff that I'm buying, I mean, these are my veggies, so these aren't great examples, but I have these massive packs of flower seed, which is stuff that's going to last me for a couple of years. And I often do this with my seed purchasing. I would rather, here's a good example. Okay, so this pack has 25,000 carrot seeds in it. If every year I grow 15,000 or 12,000 carrots, it makes more sense for me to buy, or even, because there is no 12,000 pack. There's usually, they come in 10,000 and then 25,000, and then from 25,000 they go up to 100,000 is how the carrots are kind of divided. But if every year I grow 10,000 carrots, it makes sense for me to buy the 25,000 pack every second year because the price is a lot better on the 25,000 pack than it is on the 10,000 pack. And not all things are like that. Some things, once you get into a certain size of pack, that you're not getting discounts when you're buying more and more. But quite often what I do is I don't buy a year's worth of seed. I buy 2 years worth of seed, and then I only buy it every second year. And so I did a lot of that with my flower shopping that I have coming. It was stuff that I knew that I want and I wanted a lot of, I bought the bigger packs on it. But what we're going to talk about today is the veggies and not the flowers specifically. And I'll show you how little we're going to talk about today. I only have this much to talk about today, which is a lot for some people. but this is like nothing for me. And the reason is that I have an entire farm's worth of veggie seeds already. So we are not growing a lot of veggies for next year. But if I wanted, I have more than enough seeds on hand to grow almost every single thing that we grow without having to buy seed. So we're going into our 4th year with the farm, and then doing my system of, buying these larger packs. It's kind of gotten to the point that there's a little bit of overflow. So I have lots of veggies, and there's so many things that we're not doing for next year. So I have a huge amount of veggies that are purely just for doing a seedling sale. There's stuff that I don't grow on our farm for selling. They're things that I only would grow for selling the seedlings. Things that, like 100 different varieties of heirloom tomatoes that that people like to grow in their gardens, but I couldn't make any money on growing them on the farm. Those kind of things. Like, I still have so much seed. So I have so many veggies for me to pick out of. Because, okay, this is my lead up to, because we're doing things completely differently on the farm next year. So up until now, for the last 3 years on the farm, we have been basically being a veggie farm who also grows some flowers. And, I kind of laugh going through our older videos, right? Because we have all this back catalog of videos to show the things that we were doing in our 1st year and the things that we're doing in our 2nd year. And I really struggled with the flowers in the 1st year and the 2nd year. I knew that they had really good potential. I saw how excited people were about the flowers, but flowers take a huge amount of time in the post-harvest handling. And so when you're a farm, half of, your workload is kind of divided into 3, right? And when you think about home gardening, you don't have 2 of those 3 sections, right? You only have one thing. You're just growing. And when you have a farm, the growing is probably one of the simplest and easiest tasks that you're doing, because what you're doing is, like, and a retail farm specifically, like our farm, you're growing, that's like 1/3 of the work, and then you're harvesting, that's 1/3 of the work, and it's a huge amount of work, because it's not like a home garden where you just like grab a couple carrots and you can just rinse them off in your kitchen. There's a lot of processing that needs to happen. There's a lot of, because it's not going straight from the garden into your home, there's certain processes that need to happen so that the food is staying fresh and tasty and delicious, so that it can go from the farm into, through all these steps until they get into people's fridges, and then they last for all the time that they're in the fridge. So there's a lot of extra steps that go into harvesting that don't necessarily happen for the home gardener. And then the 3rd step is like the marketing, is the actual selling of the food, and that takes a huge amount of time too. I forget why I was talking about that. Oh, the flowers. So the issue with the flowers is, the flowers are as simple as the veggies to grow, right? Fairly simple, the growing. And then with the veggies, the harvesting takes as long as the growing. But with the flowers, the harvesting and the processing before they go down to the market and get sold, it takes like 2 or 3 times as long as the veggies. The veggies are pretty simple. There's a lot of efficiencies in, pulling out half a bed of carrots and washing up all those carrots, that you just don't get in flowers. So you need to be really tracking how much work is going into the flowers to make sure that you're making money, because that's the goal with a farm. You have to be able to pay yourself some money so that you can do these things. And so in the 1st year and the 2nd year of the farm, it was really frustrating to me, because I realized with the flowers, the amount of work that I had to do made it so I wasn't able to start seeing the flowers to be profitable until I was selling $500 in flowers a week. Up until that point, I was better off growing veggies just because of the amount of labor. But once I hit the $500 level, then there, economies of scale. There was things that I could do that made it more efficient. I could take something, there's so much prep work before you do the actual work. If you have to spend 2 hours prepping something and then you spend an hour making 10 of something, it actually takes you 3 hours to make 10 of something, right? But if you spend the 2 hours of prep work and then you spend 6 hours making 100 of something, now it's only 8 hours to make 100 of something instead of 3 hours and 10. The math that's how the math rolls out. So last year, in our third year, we did some changes in the flowers, and the flowers went from not being profitable to being one of our best selling items, our most profitable items. And then we also, because we actually were selling, into the $1,000+ a week in the flowers, it made it so that, the labor up until $500 was quite heavy. But my labor for, once I was into this $1,000 was actually very good. It was a very good workflow. There was efficiencies that you couldn't necessarily achieve in the harvesting of the veggies. So it's a good way for us to scale back on what we're doing so that we are not, working 100 hours a week, which is the reality. We've been working 100 hours a week. We've been making $0 on the farm. What we need to do is we need to scale back, work 40 hours a week and make $0 on the farm. The economics of that is a lot better. So because of that, we're going from being a veggie farm who sells flowers to being a flower farm that sells veggies. And so that means that the majority of what is going to be growing out on the farm is going to be flowers. And the one thing about the flowers is that there's less pressure to have the flowers be harvested for us than the veggies, right? If my flowers aren't selling, I can leave the flowers in the farm. Oh, thanks so much, Black Dog Apiary. You're always so kind. It feels like you're too generous. I really appreciate though. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So the plan. Okay. So last year we have a half acre in production, right? So that means that I have a growing space that adds up to half an acre of space. And that includes my pathways. Our farm itself is 2.5 acres, but we're growing a half acre of things. And so last year we had 12,000 square feet. No, that's too much. Because a half acre is 20,000 square feet? I don't know. Now I'm confused. No, I don't know. 7,000? Yes, 7,000. 7,000. We had 7,000 square feet in flowers. That's how much we had last year. And we had a little bit more than 20,000 square feet in total. So about a third of the farm was in flowers. And a lot of that we actually let bloom out. And so what that means is when you have a flower farm, if your flower farm is beautiful and gorgeous and is full of beautiful, beautiful flowers, you're doing it wrong. Your flower farm should look like very ugly. Your flower farm should be like green, like no flowers, maybe some buds, but like not a lot of color. If your flower farm is like beautiful with flowers, then those are flowers that aren't necessarily good to sell. And so we had a lot of that on the farm this last year because I was growing more than we needed so that we had enough. And so that we also got experience with growing larger volumes of flowers, and then also so all of you guys could enjoy it. It was a very intentional plan. you want to have something growing. You want to have something in the ground. You want your soil that you're working to be covered. That's why cover crops exist. So you pull something out, you put something in the ground, because bare soil, it's bad. That's how weeds get in. So the best way to work weeds out of your farm or your garden is to keep growing in it. Is to keep that soil actively being used. And so last year we basically allowed beautiful flowers to be cover crops, because it's hugely valuable to us to be able to share it with all of you guys. We could have a field of flowers. It looks beautiful. You guys all get to enjoy it. Instead of the work, we were making probably like 60, 70 bouquets a week. And that's a huge amount of work to do that. So instead of doing that, and 60 or 70 people got to enjoy flowers, we were able to let this field bloom out, way less work, and thousands of you got to enjoy the flowers. And we are still currently going back and looking at all those beautiful pictures and videos and images that we have, and we're still getting value, still getting so much enjoyment out of it. So for us, it's not really a huge waste to let the flowers bloom, and then we can just cut them down. We can like hack down an entire bed to deadhead, let it bloom out again, and at that point we're able to harvest it and use it. So for next year, we want to do less. We want to spend less time having to work on the farm so that we can clear up some time to be able to do some of the other work, right? Like the growing, like I said, the growing is a third of it, the harvesting is a third of it, though with flowers more like growing is a quarter, harvesting is half, and then there's the selling. And you guys are always sharing so many ideas with us about ways that we could sell more. But the reality is, until we are scaling back on some of the stuff, we don't have the time to do anything to sell more. So we're hoping that by scaling back into, mostly these flowers, that we are then going to open up time on the other end, to be able to, find new ways to sell, to, get some more efficiencies in our system, make it so that what we're doing on the farm is more manageable, because we need, going into year 4, we've realized, things have just kind of ballooned, and it's to the point that it's no longer on a solid foundation. So we're scaling back. We're going to be on this solid foundation to then build from for the years going forward. But we are not completely giving up on veggies, because there are still, sorry, I'm just, you guys, it's hard. I get sucked into the chat. But we'll spend a little bit of time at the end doing some questions, but I can't talk and think about what I'm talking about and see the chat. It messes me up. Sorry, guys. Okay, so there's a couple things that just don't make sense for us to give up on growing for food. And those two things are carrots and salad mix. And the reason why those two things don't make sense to stop doing is they're like really good sellers for us from the farm. When people come and they shop with us here at the farm, the main things that they're buying is only the carrots and only the salad mix. We have a little shed that's right on the side of a busy road. Most of what's all, so we got it completed in September for this year. And so we had a 2-month window. We had September and October to experiment with it. And flour sold really well out of it. And then the carrots and the salad mix sold well of it, but pretty much that was the only thing. And we noticed that, because I was checking it so often, that I was able to see what was selling. People would pull over and they'd buy a single bag of salad mix, or they'd buy 2 bags of salad mix. People weren't necessarily buying 2 bags of salad mix and then a couple other things. They were definitely coming for that one thing, stopping for the one thing, and that was all they wanted. So we're not going to give up on that. That's easy, right? We put that stuff into the farm stand and it grows super good. Okay, so that then leads into one of the things that we bought. So in my seeds, I do not have any salad mix. I don't have any greens that I bought for selling because I have a mountain. I have so many greens. That we grow like a baby spring mix, which I have like a pound of it. It's like so much. I never need enough. We do grow Salanova lettuce from Johnny's Seeds. And so the reason why this isn't being featured in this seed unboxing, because I did need to buy a new Salanova, that I buy every year because it's really expensive and there's no real discounts for buying bulk. But I was running out of Salanova in the summer, and so I actually did like a late summer shop, and I bought, because I was buying the Salanova, I bought the little bit that I needed for the fall, and then I bought everything that I needed for the year. So we buy Salanova, especially green sweet crisp is like one of the greens that we grow. And then I have like kale. Okay, I'm not unboxing it, but we have to use this moment to talk about my green obsession from last year, which is like still like totally, it's still going strong. So Johnny Seeds new kale. It's the most beautiful kale you've ever seen. The kale's so beautiful that most of the money that I made on this kale actually made because I cut it and I used it as greenery in bouquets. I sold it along with ranunculus as greenery all throughout the spring. And I like it as much for a flower as I do for food. It's really tasty. So the variety is KX1, kale, KX1. And I love it for the name. Like I love names like that because I'm like, oh yeah, whoever like made this variety is like totally like doesn't care. They're just like only going for like what's gonna look the best, right? Like they're like, oh, it's a cross between trial K and trial X, the first generation, right? Like you totally know whoever did this. They're like totally, they're not focused on marketing. They're just focused on like a good product. Names like that in farming makes me happy. Yeah, okay, yeah. So KX1, someone in the chat there has it spelled out. And I direct seed that for the kale. But yeah, so that's like we do baby kales, you know, for the greens mix, and then we also do a bunch of mustards. And someone was asking me about this today. I've been doing some chatting on Instagram. If you guys use Instagram, we've been quiet on there, but we are quite active on Instagram too. If you want to follow along for the farm. It's a good spot to ask questions too, because it's lower lower turnover, so I'm able to get to them a little bit easier. But what was it? Oh, so people were asking because I do a mustard mix. That's another one of the greens that I grow, and so that I actually make, that I do on my own. That is like, I just have bought over the years like 10 different mustard seeds and I blend it together. But Johnny's has a bunch of green mixes, and they had a few Asian greens, like baby green mixes. So the Johnny Seeds is a really good source to find, you know, mixes, like blends of different lettuces together too. Okay, but what I did buy this year is I bought some more carrots. Because as I said, the only things we're growing mainly to sell on the farm. We're gonna grow lots of stuff for us personally. That's why I have some other stuff here. But these are like our crops for sale. So we're doing greens and then we're doing carrots. So the main carrot that I grow on our farm is Mokum. And that is not one of the three I have here. And the reason is, as I said, when I buy my seeds, I buy, you know, 2 years worth. So the last time that I bought Mokum seeds, I bought 100,000 pack, and last year we grew 50,000 of the Mokum carrots. So I still have enough Mokum left over. But you know, if my carrots do really well, I maybe need more than 50,000. Obviously, I can buy carrots mid-season, but I do like to have all my seeds on hand so that it's there for when I need it. But yeah, so Mokum. I'm going to talk about Mokum for a bit before I talk about these, just because I bought these to experiment with, and I do this, like you'll kind of see, I'm going to be talking about this as I show some of the other veggies. So what I do is I'm always experimenting with new varieties of seeds because I'm always trying to find my favorite variety of seeds. And mokum is a perfect example to go along with like what I have here, because I have figured out through experimenting with different varieties of seeds that mokum is the most perfect carrot seed that I could ever grow, and I never want to grow anything but mokum ever again. So why do I have these? And the reason is, even though mokum's perfect, right? I had another variety that I liked to grow before I started doing mokum. You need to always be trying new varieties. Oh, thanks so much, Nicole's Garden. I like it's Canadian dollars. That means you're Canadian. Yeah, so mokum, I found mokum through experimenting, right? So I always want to be, oh, I see someone saying I didn't see KX1 kale. Oh God, don't tell me Johnny's doesn't have it anymore. Okay, so this is why the chat is dangerous. But now I'm like, that means I'd have to hoard it if they actually have gotten like rid. Now I'm like, oh my God, don't tell me they got, no, okay, KX1, it's totally still here. It's in the catalog. Here, look at it, okay, guys, look at this page, right? This is like all of their greens. This is all of their greens that they sell. Okay, and then this right here, this is, okay, I gotta cover my face. This is the KX1. And you can see it's just like the color and the frilliness, and then like it has this like lime green center stalk. Okay. Sorry about getting distracted, but I was like, oh my God, I need to hoard every single KX1 seed I have, because I bought like a pound of it last year. So I have a mountain of it still. But if it was like gone, it could be out of stock. This time of year, things are coming in and out of stock really quickly because all the farmers are buying the seed. And seeds are only just starting to come in. I recommend if you're looking to buy seeds for your garden, buy whatever you can now. At least to get started, because it is going to be another crazy seed year. Things are going to be like hard to get your hands on, but I'd say buy your seeds now. And then go back and look in a month from now, because it's still pretty early. Seeds are still starting to just get processed in. And so the kale, the kale, worst case scenario, it'd be coming in the spring, because maybe it needs to be like processed, right? Because maybe they need the newer season. Okay, so carrots. So what I'm talking about here. So I always am experimenting with new varieties of carrots or new varieties of whatever it is I'm growing, because I'm always trying to find something better than my most favorite variety. Because it's not like mokum is my favorite because I can't imagine a world in which there's a better carrot. It's just the best carrot that I've found so far. And just because mokum is the perfect carrot for me in my conditions doesn't mean that mokum is going to be the most perfect carrot for every single person. In general, farmers really like mokum. That's why I tried it and why I got hooked on it. But who knows? Maybe one of these new ones is going to replace mokum and I'll never grow mokum again. Okay, but so before I go on to why I got these. So mokum, the reason why I like mokum so much is that it is very quick growing. Right, so here on our farm, we want the carrots to be as quick as possible so that they can be in the ground for the least amount of time possible, so that I can sell them as quickly as possible and therefore make the most amount of money. So mokum, I think, is 50 days. It's super fast, but mokum also keeps in the ground quite well. So what my customers want for a carrot is they don't want a big, huge, massive imperial carrot. They want like a snacking. Yeah, I'm like, how big? I don't know. I don't have any. Okay, here, prop. Yeah, this is perfect. This is like what people want as a carrot. They want like, it to max out at like 6 inches. They don't, and they don't want it to be like this big fatty. They want, obviously thicker than this, but they want it to be this like perfect little snacker carrot, because everyone who's buying carrots from me down at the market, they are not cooking with these carrots. These are snacking and eating carrots. Mokum is also really nice because it has like a nice rounded end. and that gives like a nice clean look for me when I harvest them. The ones they have like the little skinny root that keeps going. That's fine for like home gardening, but for when I bring it down to the market, they get ratty. Those like rat tail endings. But I don't necessarily want to be spending the time chopping those stems off. That's just more work for me. So the mokum is really great. And then the other thing that is great about the mokum, other than how quick it grows in its shape, is that I don't know why this is, but this is a thing. Mokum is way easier to clean than a lot of other carrots. So the main work of carrots, because they harvest super fast. Carrots are actually really, really good to grow on a farm scale. They're tricky to grow on a garden, but once you grow like a huge patch of them, they're actually really, really simple. And so the mokum, the work of carrots is cleaning them after. And there's something about the mokum carrot that makes it so the dirt doesn't cling as hard to the skin. So it's actually a lot easier to wash the dirt off the carrots, which then saves me time on the processing during harvesting, which means that the crop is more profitable for me, which, so basically it's fast in the ground, easy it looks beautiful when it comes out, and it harvests super fast. It's an amazing carrot. But I always want something better. So this year, what I am giving an experiment on, because as I said, I bought 100,000 carrots last year. I planted 50,000 of them. That means I have 50,000 carrots, but that's not actually enough carrots, right? Because if I need more, then I need a few more. So I knew I had to buy something anyways, so it makes perfect sense to experiment with a few varieties. So what I bought is Adelaide. Try to hold this in front of my face. I know the light isn't great in here. Sad winter light. Okay, and then I marked the pages in this catalog to be able to get some pictures for you guys. Where are the carrots? They're near the front. All right, so Adelaide, the reason why I bought it is that it is, what's going on? Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see. Okay, so it's this little shorty here, right? So it's that little short one, and they do this. This is such a great chart to be able to do the side by side comparison to get an idea, because you're like, oh, I already grow, mokums here, right? So this one right here is mokum, right? So I have like a size comparison. So the reason why I got Adelaide to give a try on is it's a baby carrot. Sounds like it has that nice bottom shape, like what I love about mokum. But it's maybe even faster, right? Because this one it's saying 50 days to full size, 36 days to baby carrot. So who knows? Maybe this is going to grow even faster. But I also found that sometimes my customers don't want that 6-inch carrot, right? They want even smaller, right? So like the mokums, they kind of they get to that and then they stop growing. But maybe it'd be nice to have these little 2.5, 3-inch carrots that's the point at which they stop growing. Because we do start harvesting the mokums when they're small. But they just keep growing because I plant a 50-foot bed at a time. So, maybe this is going to work really well. I plant mokum, a bed of mokum, I plant a bed of Adelaide, I harvest the mokum. Once they get to full size, then at that point, I have that full-sized Adelaide that I can harvest off of and still be able to offer those smaller carrots. So I'm excited to give this a try. Worst case scenario, I know this will sell. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what it does. So I got 25,000 of those. So that's like 2 beds. Yeah, so for context, I know those numbers are crazy, but when I seed a 50-foot bed of carrots, I put 10,000 carrots into a bed. And last year, I think when I did the math, we did 6 beds of carrots. So the 25,000 carrot seeds is actually 2 beds of Adelaide. So it's not that crazy for what I'm talking about. Okay, and then this is something that people always tell me to get all the time. they're always like, Serena, you gotta grow the rainbow carrots, because the rainbow carrots, they look so cool, they look so beautiful, they'll sell like crazy for you. And I didn't have them last year, and I only had a few the year before. And the reason why I didn't have them is that when we went down to the market in our first year, we had both the rainbow carrots and we had the like classic Nance orange carrots, and customers wanted the orange carrots. We sell our carrots bunches $3 or 2 for $5, and people would almost always buy the 2 bunches, and everyone would always get a bunch of orange ones, and then maybe they'd get a bunch of the colored ones, but they were just as likely to get 2 bunches of orange. And they're beautiful. They're super cool. Like, I love them. The problem with the rainbow carrots is that they, exactly what I was saying about what makes the mokum so great. They're this nice snacking size. They like have the blunt ends. They don't have those like tips. They stay smaller. That everyone wanted to buy those carrots because they're the orange carrots that were like that, because they're eating them raw. They're eating them as a snacking carrot. The rainbow carrots, they were kind of selling more for people who wanted them as a cooking carrot. So what I found is they didn't really sell much in the summer, but come the fall, they actually sold. They sold quite well, because come the fall, people are starting to think about cooking again. Really hot where we are, so people, they cook as little as possible in the summer. We can sell some stuff like zucchinis and patty pans, so like crazy. Anything that you can cook on a barbecue for veggies, like is something that sells in the summer. But people want raw veggies or veggies that they can grill, where we specifically are. But come the fall, people are more into cooking the carrots, and then at that point, the idea of being able to roast up a pan of carrots, and some of them are colored, starts to be appealing. So I'm completely out of purple carrots. In my very first year of farming, we bought like a big pack of purple carrots, and then the second year I grew a little bit of them, and I think I had a tiny bit left. That I maybe like mixed in with like a mokum. I had like a few kicking around, I think, in the summer. But I bought some more. So what I bought is I bought rainbow. So rainbow carrots there's a white carrot, there's a yellow carrot, and there's an orange carrot. And the reason why, and don't like quote me on this, but I don't think it's like a blend of 3 different varieties. I think rainbow carrots actually are the genetics. They just don't know what it's going to be. So it actually is like a true, like they don't know which way the color is going to go. Like the seed that you harvest off of them could be any of these colors. But I could be wrong, because usually when you have like a blend, it's a blend of like 3 different specific varieties of, of something to get those colors. So the rainbow carrots, I like them because all the colors do grow at a similar time. It's, one of the problems with, if you were to just make your own blend, is maybe the yellow grows way faster than the orange and the white. And then when you pull it, you have baby white and orange, and then these big massive yellow ones. Whereas the rainbow, it actually is a pretty uniform harvest size. With these though, we probably would leave them, rather than pulling them small. Like I said, with the mokum, we start pulling them quite early to be able to sell them. I probably would plant the rainbow carrots, because I'm only going to be growing these for fall. So I'll be able to, it's not like I'm going to be rushing to try to get these out as early as possible to start my season. So these, it's less of a rush. They can stay in the ground for longer. I can grow them to full size. But yeah, so this makes a nice uniform blend. And then in the past, and then, because you gotta have a purple one. The purple one's the best. Oh, and I will say, okay, so in my trials before, these do not taste as good as the orange carrots, right? Like the purple, all the colored ones, they're not as tasty. Like a classic Nance is like the best tasting carrot that I've had. I'm sure you gotta like taste test it against other ones, but in general, our customers said it, and I really believe it too. Like from my experience of eating them, they're just not as sweet. They're not as tasty. Texture is fine on them. It's hard to beat the mokum though. The mokum is like so crisp and beautiful. But yeah, so we grew a super dark purple in the past. It was very slow. The flavor was like not great. I totally think that it was like developed just to be super purple. And so the purple that I got this year is I got Purple Elite. In here, let's pull up the picture. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, Purple Elite is yeah. Okay, so you know, I didn't buy the super purple from Johnny's, but you can see like this one is like super dark, and the purple that I had before, it was like dark all the way through, you know, and then there's this one, and then so this is the Purple Elite. So it's not super purple, but the skin is purple. It's got that, it'll blend really nicely. Oh, here, we can show rainbow, right? So there's rainbow, right? So like that's gonna look really punchy mixed in with the rainbow. It doesn't have to be the darkest purple it's ever been to make a really beautiful mix of carrots. And then because it's separate, yeah, okay, so here, perfect. So days to maturity on rainbow carrots, 67 days. Days to maturity on Purple Elite, 75 days, right? So what this means is when I go to plant these, if I want to blend these together, this I want to be planting at least a week, maybe even 2 weeks before I plant the rainbow carrots, to be able to have them at the same size when I harvest them for selling. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing for carrots. This is for the farm. You know, carrot. I'll just eat whatever carrots we have. I don't need to grow any like carrots that are special just for me. You know, which is kind of the case with like a lot of the stuff on the farm. I'm really excited for this coming year because we haven't had like a personal garden in, you know, since basically since the first year that we moved here. We grow so much food. We have so much food left over that we eat what there is. We bring home what's left over from the market and we eat out of that. And so, and we're not picky, right? They're beautiful, wonderful, fresh veggies. If it means that all we eat is bok choy, that's the only leftover veggie, we're more than happy to do that. We're not overly picky when it comes to stuff. But this coming year, there's stuff that I haven't bothered growing that I like to grow, that I'll get to grow again because I don't have to grow it to make money. I can grow a few plants for the family. You know, I can take a couple rows in the farm and I can plant, you know, whatever I want into them just for us. And then, you know, we'll have a lot of delicious stuff. So one thing that we grew lots of last year as an experiment, and I want to almost make a video, like a standalone video talking about this experiment, because we did like an experiment on sweet peppers, because I never thought that we could make money on sweet peppers. We're warm in the summers, but we are still Canada. Our season is fairly short. So to be able to, you know, actually get a sweet pepper plant to produce enough that it's worth the amount of work it takes to make a sweet pepper produce, is a little tricky. But we tried out like a bunch of varieties, and I was really happy with it. And I loved them. It was so nice to have so many of these sweet peppers. They're really fun to grow. I found that I struggled with growing sweet peppers in the past, but having all the greenhouse space made it so that, you know, it's simple for me to throw a handful of sweet pepper plants into a greenhouse and still have lots of sweet peppers for me and the family to enjoy. So I used up most of the seed that I have. But Red Night was the red bell pepper that we grew last year, and I really liked it, and so I wanted to have it again. And so the pack size, this makes me laugh because I never buy retail packs, which is like the smallest size pack, like the home gardener pack. And so this is a retail pack. It has 25 seeds in it. You know, it feels weird for me to buy something with 25 seeds because it's like, that's like nothing. Like 25 seeds, like it's not even gonna fill a 72 tray. You know, like everything that I grow is always like an entire tray. But yeah, so I bought this one because I really liked it. And then For the life of me, I do not remember what this is. And I was flipping through the catalog right before the video started because I was like, what is this? And I couldn't find it in the catalog, but it's Mellow Star. And it says on it, so this is a pepper, it's a sweet pepper, and it says 60 days to green, 80 days to red, which means that it must be a sweet red bell pepper. But I don't remember why I bought it. Maybe I bought it because it was like more affordable, because this is like 100 seed pack. So maybe I bought it just because I could easily imagine I bought it because I'm like, what? I'm gonna grow 25 seeds. I need to fill that seed tray. I need to do a full tray. Yeah, this is one of those things that is gonna be for me, and I'm really excited. Another pepper that we grew last year that was like so good. But this I got at William Dam Seeds, and oh, okay. So someone's asking a question here, and I'm going to address it. They said, "How many days to yellow?" And so the answer to that is, so peppers aren't a stoplight, right? They don't go red, yellow, green. A yellow pepper is a ripe pepper, right? So the green pepper is an unripe pepper. The red pepper, and then it ripens to red. If you want a yellow pepper, you need to buy a yellow pepper, and it'll go from green and it'll ripen to yellow. Same with orange, right? It's not that they ripen from green to yellow to orange to red. If you want a red, orange, and yellow pepper, you need to buy 3 different types of peppers, and then they'll each go from green to their specific color. One good option, like this one that I was going to say that I grew though, is I did Ice Age, and the reason why I bought it is that when it's unripe, it was white. It was this whitish yellow, and then it ripened to orange. So it meant that having it on the farm, I could have green, yellow, orange, and red by picking some of that unripe, some of it ripe for the yellow and the orange, and then unripe red night and ripe red night. I see someone talking about California Wonder. Like I will say in general, like there's so many good peppers, and especially like with Johnny Seeds. Yeah, and so the name of it is Ice Age. That's the one that I bought. That is white, and then it goes to yellow. And I really liked it because it was really low acid compared to the other peppers. So sometimes like I find the peppers are really acidic, and so it was nice that it was a lower acid one. Yeah, okay, so Johnny Seeds, they sell stuff for farmers. They have like some crazy expensive stuff in there, including peppers. There's some pepper seeds in here that are expensive, but the reason why these exist, the reason why it's what farmers buy, is that it makes sense, right? What's the point of having a pepper plant? You're gonna work at it all season. It's gonna produce you like 2 like spindly sad peppers, when instead you could spend, instead of spending $3 on seeds, you could spend $10 on seeds, and now all of a sudden all that work goes from being like a massive amount of work for 2 peppers, the joke of I spent $25 and I got 2 tomatoes, right? Like you're better off to spend like $27 to buy the tomatoes that cost you, $3 instead of $1, and be able to get a large production off of them. So don't be super intimidated when you look at things like peppers in Johnny Seeds and you see that some of the stuff is really pricey. It's money well spent to buy good seed. And if you're gonna buy something like a California Wonder, like don't buy it from a seed company. Go to a dollar store. You can buy that stuff for like 25 cents. They're like, you can get that cheap, like so cheap. Anything they sell at a dollar store, don't buy a retail pack from a company. Just because like why pay the extra money? They're all the exact same seed. Okay. I did see someone saying shishitos. That was another pepper that we did. Hugely productive. We made really good money on it. Loved it. So delicious. But I think I have a handful of seeds left, because those I would grow another couple peppers for ourselves again. And honestly, if in my home garden, if I was only going to grow 1 pepper, I'd probably say grow a shishito, right? It's simple enough to find a bell pepper when you need it at the grocery store. Oh, thanks so much, VJ. You're awesome too. um, yeah, the bell peppers, they take so long to produce that they are good value when you buy them. When you buy them at the grocery store. Whereas the shishito, it's a specialty one. It'll give you like good production through like a big window. You could go out every 2 weeks and pick like a meal's worth off of a single plant. So they're a really excellent choice for the home gardener. And we made money. We made money on those for sure. Like they produce enough that it made sense for selling them. Okay, so another thing that I can't live without that we've been growing since we started the farm is kohlrabi. And the variety of kohlrabi that we normally grow is the purple kohlrabi. And okay. Someone is answering my question. Mellow Star is a shishito pepper. Thank you. Because that's what I thought. I was like, maybe I ordered it as a shishito, but I was like looking and I couldn't find it in the catalog. So maybe it was one of those ones where it was just online. And it was saying it was like a high production, like an even higher production than like the standard shishito. Okay, thank you. That's like, because I was like, I don't know. Though I'm like, oh, that only gives me, like the shishitos, I let some ripen to red and they were not very good. You definitely want to be picking those green. Like you want that bit of an acid. Once they sweetened up, they tasted kind of weird. I think they'd be great to mellow out a hot sauce. I saved like an entire tote. I went and picked all the red ones once. And then the summer was just like too crazy. I never got around to making it, but I was going to use it because I often put sweet peppers. I often put sweet peppers into my hot peppers when I make a hot sauce, just so it doesn't have to be like blow your head off hot. I like to be able to like put like a bucket of hot sauce on. So I like to make a mild sauce. And like the red shishitos, I think would be really good for that because they have that, that really unique flavor that you kind of find in the hot peppers, but they weren't as good for the grilling. Okay, so sorry, kohlrabi. Back to the kohlrabi. Okay, so I only started growing this when we had the farm because I was looking for something that would be an early spring production. And the variety that we grew, I'm pretty sure, is the Kohlrabi, a purple variety. And we specifically grew the purple variety because every single thing that comes off the farm in the spring is green. And so we wanted something that looked a little bit different on the farm stand. So even though lots of people said that the green grew way better, but the green actually was the preferred variety, and other farms in our area grow the green, they don't grow the purple. We wanted the purple because the goal was to make the farm stand look beautiful, draw people in with the beautiful purple kohlrabi, and then while they're there, be like, you really got to get this bok choy. Let me tell you, bok choy is the best. But we're not doing that anymore because no one would buy any of that stuff. So this is Tarek kohlrabi. And this I got last year from Johnny Seeds, and they were saying that it was like, most heat tolerant, like really easy, like the best of the kohlrabis for my conditions. And so we grew it last year along with the purple, and they were right, the green's way better. and it like, flavor wise, it stayed less woody. The kohlrabi is really good, right? It's still like an F1, it's still a hybrid. But the green just was a little, even when it was full grown, I didn't have to peel it, where I found sometimes the purples, I'd want to peel it if they got like overgrown. So we love this. The way we sell kohlrabi at the market is it's the crunch you crave. Right? You don't realize how much you want this in your life until you have it. So it's great as like matchsticks. Like you just like chop it and have it raw. We just eat them like apples. They're really, really tasty, and they're early. They're super early. This one is 40 days and it's cold tolerant. So this I'm often starting in March, planting out before our last frost. This is like growing in the ground, and then we're harvesting it kind of end of May into June when we still have our spring weather, and then it's gone by July. And I couldn't give up on having this, and we had used all of our seed, so I needed to get a new pack of that. Okay, and then the other thing for me so this is a pole bean, and this is Seychelles. I have no idea how to say that. Someone else has got to say that for me. Seychelles. And this, I really wanted to get this last year, but it was sold out when I went to buy it. I didn't try to buy it early enough. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get some pictures for this one. And but we grew some pole beans last year, and so I've done pole beans like what's the classic? The runner beans. I've done like purple peacock, like a purple pole bean, and like like the production is amazing on them. They're beautiful, but they're not as good as bush bean, right? Like what I want out of it, I want to eat my beans raw. I love raw beans, like just snacking, like not stringy, juicy, beautiful. Okay, so here's a perfect page, right? So I've grown pole beans in the past, and they look like this, right? But what I really want is like a pole bean. I want something or I want a bush bean type bean, or a French bean. A French bean is a better way of putting it. Yeah, Vortex. I think maybe they were sold out of Vortex, because I think that I tried to get it, because that's the one that like lots of other farmers like. But a lot of the farmers said this Seychelles is good too. So I got it this year. I got it because last year I didn't have a green pole bean. I forget what I grew. I did Hunter last year, because what the issue that I have is I have 2 trellises, and I grew tomatoes on them, and they were great. And like I did this cattle panel trellis, and I like wove the tomatoes in, but then the dirt is like it needs some work on the dirt. So last year I was like, it needs beans. It needs some sort of nitrogen fixing crop. So I grew beans on them because they were up, and I didn't want to take the trellises down. And so I was like, well, if I grow beans, then I'm helping the soil, and I'm not having to do the work of removing these trellises. And the trellises are still up, so I'm like, well, like let's use that as an excuse just to do beans again. So one of them I'm doing, I'm gonna do some what the brain fart? What are the beautiful flowers? The pea flowers. I want to say snap, but that's not right. It starts with S. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so one of them I'm doing flowers. And then on the other one, I'm going to do this pole bean, and it's just going to be for us. And the kids really love beans raw. So I can have a 50-foot trellis. Sweet peas. Thank you. I don't know why. Yeah. So I can put up this 50-foot trellis, and it can be a spot where we all just hang out. You know, we have a snack. You know, if we go and we want to do a meal, we can go and we can pick a meal's worth, because 50 feet is going to be plenty. So yeah, so I got a big pack of that, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited to try this out. Okay, and then the last veggies that I have here these are veggies that are part of my farm. These are veggies for my flower farm, because what I have is I have a bunch of pumpkins. And gourds. And so I got these. I don't know that I'm gonna grow these. I bought these so that I have them as an option, and then I can make decisions. So the one thing about pumpkins and squashes and things like that, because I have people ask me about these often, is that they take up a lot of space, and so where we are, everything needs to be irrigated. So it's not like I can have space and I can put something in that's like low maintenance. Everything is the same amount of maintenance, because everything needs to be weeded and everything needs to be irrigated. So I don't have a spot to just put pumpkins and let them ramble. So pumpkins only really work for me if I have empty space. And I haven't, the first year we had some empty spots, and I put some pumpkins in. but the last 2 years, I just haven't had empty space. And in the past, I used to, in my home garden, I used to grow pumpkins or squashes every year in our compost pile, or I'd put them, in the back corner. I used to have a row that I would do, and then they climb up over my fence. I kind of like used my fence as a trellis for them, and they grew really well and were really productive. But I haven't had a space that was going to be getting water, that was empty. And so when I ordered my seeds, I didn't know what I was going to be doing for the farm. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to have some empty beds. Maybe I'm going to have some empty space. I should get some pumpkins, and then I could grow them, and they will sell really well to my flower customers in the fall, because the people who buy flowers are people who are, interested in home decor, right? Like that's what they basically are, right? And pumpkins, in the fall are used as home decor. So what I bought is some really special looking pumpkins. And I wanted something that was smaller. Something that you could put inside. It doesn't necessarily have to be one of those doorstop ones, and also something where I could have them in the farm stand and they wouldn't overtake the farm stand. So this is one of the varieties that I bought. This is Blaze, and the coloring is super cool. And I've seen people share pictures of these, and they look really stunning in person. Yeah, so just a really cool pumpkin, and a lot of people do, they'll make pumpkin arrangements for in the fall, where they'll, maybe glue dried flowers along the top, so that the pumpkin is almost the vase, and then there's this little mini arrangement. And so these are the perfect size to be able to make a smaller type arrangement if I went for that. And then the other variety that I purchased is Casperita. See, right, that one there. So it's a white pumpkin, and then it's smaller, and super cool. I grew Cinderella, which is a white pumpkin, before, and it was a similar kind of shape to this, and they look so cool. The white pumpkins, they look unreal, especially if we're really dry here, so they don't get muddy and they don't get stained. In general, they look nice and clean and white. So I bought those. I figure if I have a bed or two empty, I could put those in. At this point, I don't know that I will. Things are filling up fast in my mental list. And then the other thing that I bought, which is, I grew this in the first year along with the pumpkins, and I've regretted not having it since. And this fall, in the weeds that were weeds down at the bottom of my property, we found some gourds. So this is what I bought. I bought a bunch of gourds. And these smaller size ones, right? Not the big ones, but the ones that you can put on a bowl. And yeah, and the Jack Be Littles. Yeah, aren't they cool? I love these. Yeah, so we found some gourds that had self-seeded. Apparently they'd been kind of sustaining themselves somehow. Down at the bottom of the property, and there was a few that had self-seeded down there, and they're just so fun. Even I don't even know if I sold them. I think because we only had there was 10 of them. I think we just used them as decor in the farm stand. And I bought some gourds from a fellow farm. He had some super cool warty little mini pumpkins. So I was like, you know what? That even more than the pumpkins, if I because I can buy pumpkins if I need pumpkins to do arrangements, right? I could probably find someone that I could partner with to sell their pumpkins at our farm stand if it's doing super well. But the gourds, everyone has the same issue that I have. which is you need water to grow stuff. The gourds, they're just not super common here, but they're special and people like them. So they're cheap. The seeds were super cheap, which like made it so it wasn't a big sacrifice to buy some just to have on hand for if I decide to do it. So I think I bought every single one of Johnny's small gourds. So I got the Autumn Wings blend, and I got Gremlins. I think these are like warty little weird looking ones. Oh yeah, here we go. Here. Okay, so here's the winged blend. Cover my face. And then this is the Gremlins. They're all like warty. And these I think are a little bit bigger than the other ones. Because then I got Daisy Gourds. And I think those are like the smaller, the hand-sized ones. And then Harrow Smith Select. Yeah, which is like a mix of shapes. And then I got Jill Be Little, which is like the little mini pumpkins, right? Like they're a gourd. Yeah. So is there anything I didn't buy? Pretty much not, because this is just the veggies. Like the seed collection is pretty ridiculous at this point. Yeah. So that is all the veggies. That is all the veggies that I bought. And that is also everything, that's like going over the plan, right? So we won't have to I'll try not to go over the plan too much every single time we do these unboxings. But yeah, no, I was kind of laughing because when I was thinking of doing, I think, so someone's asking if the Jack Be Little and the Jill Be Little are the same. I think that they're, because I bought the Jack Be Little. I don't know why the Jill Be Little is what I bought, but I would have had a reason. I always have a reason. Let's see. Jill Be Little. Maybe they don't sell Jack Be Little. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe the Jill Be Little they find is better. There was like another mini one that was called Spark. I think I tried to buy that, but it was sold out. Oh, it says has strong powdery mildew resistance. So that would convince me. I always buy everything that's more disease resistant. Because even though we are dry, we do still struggle, especially in the pumpkins, the powdery mildew, like any sort of squash is guaranteed to get them. I have so much left over, right? Like it's like the greens. I have so many greens. I have like pounds and pounds of seed for the greens. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for next year, and it feels good to be sitting here now and have everything on hand. There's a few things that I'm still looking to source that like just weren't available. When I was ordering all the Bennery's Giant, like no one had Bennery's Giant. So I still need to buy some more of the Bennery's Giant stuff. I think I couldn't find orange Bennery's Giant zinnias. And then there's a few other things. Like I'd like to get some Bells of Ireland. No one had Bells of Ireland in stock, which ideally. Oh no, that's all the seeds I'm doing today. The next, someone's asking about the flower seeds. Yeah, that's all I'm doing today because I have so much. It's probably gonna take another 3 videos at least, if not more. So I wanted to, I'm kind of aiming for these to be in the 1 hour range. Ian was like, just do it as like one video and edit it. I'm like, it'll take me 8 hours. Like, there's so many seeds because it's basically in the past, I bought from multiple sources, and this year I kind of tried to buy everything I could from Johnny's. So when do you plant ranunculus? So I've been thinking about this because I'm trying. Like I've been trying to figure out what my farm plan is. Because I've been going through these seeds. I've been trying to learn what's what because there's a lot of stuff that I've never grown before. So I don't necessarily know when to plant everything. And so last year I planted ranunculus like the day I got them because we got them in the spring. So I was looking through pictures today. They showed up in the beginning of March, and then I sprouted them, and then so I probably would have planted them out in April. Let's see. Jennifer's saying we love every minute of every hour of every seed unboxing. I know. I'm like, maybe that you guys are all bad influences, because it makes me just like want to buy stuff. I'm like, it doesn't matter if I don't plant it. I can just like buy it to get like my fix, to get it's an addiction. I have a problem. I buy too much. Okay, yeah, so my ranunculus. So I think I planted them out in the beginning of April last year. And for context, our last frost is beginning of May. And that was out in the field uncovered is when I planted them. But this year I have my ranunculus on hand, because I have the ranunculus that I saved from last year, and then I also have the it's like, it just disappears. And then I have about 500 ranunculus that I bought that came in the fall. They actually came along with my tulip bulbs. So I already have it all on hand. So I've been trying to figure out when I want to, because I want to pre-sprout them. And I have space in a high tunnel for them. But we like it's we get cold weather. And my tunnel's like kind of open, and then I'm like, oh, I probably would have to water them in too, because it's like pretty dry under there. So I don't necessarily want to start them now and then be trying to plant them in the beginning of February. I'm thinking maybe like end of the month. And then the other thing too is, because I have enough, I want to stagger them. I want to do some in the tunnel, and I want to do some out of the tunnel too. Yeah, so I want to do like 2 rounds of it. So the other nice thing about that is, if I do start some and then they don't work, I kill them because it's too cold. If we get some like crazy cold spell that comes through and wipes them out after I plant them into the tunnel, then I'd still have the next succession coming. Like, it kind of gives me a buffer. So yeah, so I'm thinking maybe end of the month I'll pre-sprout them, because they took about a month. And then the place that I pre-sprout them is like in March, which is probably where I would pre-sprout them again. Is I did it in my unheated garage. So it was quite cool in there. It was quite cold. It never freezes, but it wasn't heated. So they were slow to pre-sprout, but then I didn't have to worry about taking them from inside to outside for them to be shocked by the cold. And I pre-sprouted them without light, because I basically once they had greens up, then I put them into the ground. But I have because I have a couple bigger lights. I have my Mars Hydro bar light. And then last year I got like a Viva Spectra, the Viva Spectra one. So those were like sponsored. Those were like free lights that people sent to me, to try out, so that I would then have them and talk about them like I'm doing right now, I guess. But so I like the Mars Hydro one because it's like a long skinny strip, and when I grow stuff like in my racks, that's the shape that I need. Whereas the Viva Spectra one is like more of like a square of light. And so that was a little bit awkward, but what I did with it is I hung it from the roof of my garage, and the light is quite strong. It's not the same as like my cheap LED ones. So it can be up, I'm showing my hands. It can be up high. It's not helpful. It can be up a few feet above the seedlings and still be giving them lots of light. And then because of that, because if it's down here, then it only gives light to there. But if it's up here, then the light spreads out. So the higher up it is, the more space it covers. So that one I actually hung kind of over some plants in my garage, and it like worked quite well for me to be able to, give some supplementary light to a large space of stuff kind of in the cold. I used that when I had my dahlias, and it was just, they were potted up and they're growing like crazy, but the weather was so cold I couldn't put them out in the greenhouse. So I might hang that back up on some hooks and use that for pre-sprouting my ranunculus. But yeah, I definitely, you want to, from what I understand, and like, I am nowhere near an expert. I've done it once, but it was surprisingly easy. Like, I was telling people like today, like I was really nervous about ranunculus. And in hindsight, I'm like, well, that wasn't that difficult. Cause like, I think it depends on if you don't have good drainage. I could see them being difficult because they rot easily. But I have no water and pure drainage. So they're quite simple for me. The only thing that I was worried about is our springs go from cool to hot, and they don't like the hot weather. But we used some shade cloth on them, and they actually, they did super good. But yeah, I think people have said that like they need 10 weeks of cool weather before they'll flower. So, you want to like kind of keep that in mind for the ranunculus. You don't want to be trying to you don't want to plant them out in April and, have them, if May gets hot, right? And they're only going to get 4 weeks of cool weather. They're not going to flower properly that way. So I can probably stay for another 10 minutes if there's any other questions. Do some quick questions. I don't know if people are asking questions when I was blabbing about ranunculus. Yeah, Lysianthus. I know I was on Instagram. I hadn't been on Instagram for a while. Oh, and so that's the reason why we didn't do our live video last week, because this was the video that I was going to be doing last week, but Ian wasn't home. We had so when we went on our vacation to Vancouver Island in November, like our entire province got flooded out and we got stranded on Vancouver Island, and we flew. Oh, thanks so much, Lisa. Thanks for being you. The stickers entertain me so much. So our truck, we flew out off the island back home, and we left our truck there, and we knew we had to go back and get it. We'd kind of been waiting to hear when the roads were going to be back, and so they finally kind of got back like, or there was a road that was finally open to be able to drive back home. And so Ian flew to Vancouver Island, and he spent a couple days getting the truck. So I was here alone with the kids, and then the kids, they only just kind of went back to school this week. So we had an extended Christmas break. Can ranunculus be planted in part shade? I think they can. They still need light, but I think that they can handle like part shade, and by part shade, make sure they're getting at least half a day of light. I know often people, they're kind of like, it's part shade because it gets like an hour of light in the morning. My cat is outside and he's giving me the stare. All of our cats are inside cats now. They don't like to go outside. Someone's asking, have you ever grown Chinese tea? But I don't know if that was gonna be an incomplete. Oh, someone was asking about Lysianthus. My hot tips on Lysianthus. So this is my Lysianthus story. Last year, I bought $100 worth of Lysianthus seed because they are very expensive seed. And so I started them all, and I got 0 Lysianthus. They germinated, and they were like this big. It was like, is that a plant? I can't tell. These sad little pathetic things. And I was like, I don't know, whatever, I'll just keep growing it. And I planted them out. And at one point I found a plant overrun with weeds, like in August. And it like was like a spindly single stem, and it had a bud, but like something had come and like broken the bud off. So there was like one bud that almost made it. So yeah, 0 flowers for $100 worth of seeds. And so I was like, well, I am never doing that again. And then they, some local farmers are doing like a group buy for Lysianthus starts. And so I was like, okay, if I don't have to start it from seed, like let's give this a try. Okay, I'll be 5 minutes. I was like, let's give this a try. Let's see how this goes. We'll buy starts. And so I think we bought like $1,000 worth of Lysianthus plugs. And I was like, we'll give it one more try. We'll double down. We're doubling down. We're spending 10 times what we spent on seed. And so if we don't get any flowers this time, never again. We've officially tried it all. So, but it makes sense. Like, I know that's a crazy amount of money to spend on plugs, but it's 2 beds worth of Lysianthus plugs that I have coming. And so I'll be able to put 1 bed inside a high tunnel and then 1 bed outside of a tunnel. So I'll be able to give them, I'm assuming I'll be able to like grow them when they already come, like ready to be planted in the ground. I don't think I'm that bad that I won't be able to to make them survive. But it's enough that I'll be able to give them a proper test. Sometimes you just like you try a couple of something and like you don't know, like they could all die just for random reasons. Like you kind of need to grow on a larger scale to know if it works or if it doesn't work, and to learn the ways that it works. Someone was asking what yeah, that's a good question too, but when the farm starts. So one of the questions, and this will be my last question because Ian's putting the kids to bed, so I have to go. And this cat's still staring at me. He's like, let me in the door. He's like in the window, like. Okay, so when are the first seeds that I'm going to start? And the answer to that is very soon. Very soon. Probably next week. I need to get organized. We haven't done anything. The kids were off school for 3 weeks. They had an extra week of winter break because COVID stuff's going all crazy. So I've gotten unorganized already. Oh my God, we're like week 2 of the year and I'm already unorganized. So I need to get back on track. So I need to do a big clean on the outbuilding and then get ready for my seed starting. I need to pull out all my seed starting gear. But yeah, so next week, and the first things that I'm going to be starting are all the things that I should have started in the summer to plant for the fall to overwinter. Because last year we did a big experiment, we tried a bunch of things, and we had really good success on snapdragons. Snapdragons did super, super well overwintering in the tunnel, so I should have done better on that. But I did overwinter a few things. What I did, I have some feverfew, I have some Ami, I have some Rudbeckia, I have some Dara. I think that's it. I did perennials, basically. In the tunnel. So I have some of those, fingers crossed. We had like a crazy cold spell. It got down to like minus 30 Celsius or something crazy. So I haven't looked in the tunnel. Hopefully they're fine. But yeah, so what I'm planting next week is I'm planting everything that I should have planted in the fall because it's stuff that I know I can plant out into the tunnel, like kind of in February. So snapdragons, I'll grow those out probably for 6 weeks inside, or no, maybe even less, maybe 4 weeks. End of February, right? If I do it next week, mid-February, I don't know, something like that. I'll probably start a bunch of Rudbeckia. I will start some more feverfew. Get those going. I have some other stuff that anything that can handle a lot of cold and takes kind of like 4 to 6 weeks. I'll start, or stuff that maybe isn't super, super cold hardy, but takes 8 weeks to grow out. I'll be starting pretty soon. And then the backside of that is when will things start? Oh, let's see. Thanks for creatively Candace, Flower and Veggie Garden says, thanks for all you do, especially your little business strategy tips. I'm ordering kicks one now to go with my ranunculus. Yeah, I planted it super tight and super early and the stems were short, right? They like it, it's not like a full 18-inch filler. And I cut it off at the ground for doing it as the filler. But it worked really well with the ranunculus because ranunculus are short. So it made like a good bouquet for it that way. But it probably, because I planted it super dense because I planted it to be baby greens, and I picked off of it. And then it got big, and then I used it. So it was, I don't know, it could have been like 8 weeks old by the time I was using it as the filler. Because kale's like pretty hardy. Sometimes I plant those like beginning of March, mid-March, and then the ranunculus were in June. Just for context, if you're trying to do the filler, yeah, and I think you definitely want it tight, right? Because they ended up being like spindly, right? The stems were super skinny because it was like majorly overplanted, and they were very like vertical. And so that's the reason why I think I was able to use it as the filler. Okay, so the second half of that question, and that's the last question that I'm doing, that I have to go, is like, when will we start selling things, right? Like, we're gonna start seeding things next week, but when will things start to be ready? And so the earliest thing in out of the farm will be the tulips, right? So we planted 5,000 tulips in that one little trench. We have like a whole video about that. I'm excited. I'm excited to see those, like just a crazy mass of them. And then like we have the tulips. So the year before we planted tulips and they were spaced out. So, hopefully those will come back. I'll get like one more cut off of them before they kind of are finished. And then we have like bits and pieces around the farm for the bulbs. But yeah, so like tulips, and like, I don't have very many daffodils, but maybe there's a couple daffodils that'll pop up. Those will be my first things, and those are usually in April. And then into May, I don't know, maybe like end of April. If I plant beginning of March, and I'm doing like cold hardy stuff, like the kale, like I could maybe have baby greens like end of April, maybe. I don't know, May we'll start having food. And then, it's easy to imagine, especially like I'm talking about those ranunculus, getting them in the tunnel. It's easy for me to imagine ranunculus starting in May. Other things that I'm going to be planting in the tunnel, they'll be blooming May, June. July is like main summer stuff. Because May 1st is kind of our normal last frost. That's when the summer stuff gets planted out, and then it's kind of May to June, 2 months, and then they start blooming, kind of like the zinnias and all the summer stuff, and then full on. But yeah, so I'm really hopeful that I have it figured out enough that we will have flowers April to end of October, and we might have the tulips before we have the greens, but it's pretty safe to say May to end of October, we'll have the greens available in the farm stand. And then the carrots, I plant my first carrots March 1st, and, 60 days, they usually take more than 60 days, but what is that? March to April, April to May, so like mid-May, I could see like the carrots being ready, and then those go all the way into the end of the season too. So, it won't be long. It's crazy. It's crazy to think where we are already. The days, I say this in every single live video, but the days, they disappear on me. I'm already like, what's going on? I'm behind schedule. Story of my life, right? Okay, but I gotta go. Before I go though, I want to say Happy New Year to everyone. New year, new growing season. I'm definitely excited. I've had enough of a break now that I'm ready for it. And I also want to say a big thank you. We had like a bunch of presents show up over the last couple of weeks. Um, and I don't know. They usually come with like a slip, like a thank you slip. But a few of them had the slips missing. So someone sent me and the kids a book. I got like a dried flower book, and we got like a mushroom kit and some soap making stuff, and I got some gloves, and we got like a little parcel with these like little dishes for seed starting. We got many kind gifts, and it feel like it's always shocking to me, or like all of, how many of you join us here for these lives. We really appreciate it. It really shows the amount of value that we bring you guys. The fact that you want to do that, because sometimes, that's the goal, right? The goal is to provide value, to not waste everyone's time. So the gifts really, I never expect anything. So, when the stuff comes up and it comes with a slip and someone is like, wow, like, you helped me out so much. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate all the kind words too. Okay, so Ian's heckling me in the chat, so I have to go. But be back next week with doing some Into the Flowers for the seed unboxing. Like I said, there's like $3,000 worth of seeds. There's so much. And we will have a video coming out this week. We're getting on top of stuff. So we will. I know we kind of skipped last week. So we have a video coming. I'm doing the Sunflower Selections unboxing video. Okay, but thanks so much, guys. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next week.